different positions last few interviews. So do defensive backs this week. Start maybe with safeties, your overall impression, and then a few individuals.
Cheat sheet.
Yeah, see, you're smart.
Yeah, a lot of new guys.
Yeah, there's really three safety positions if you count the nickel. That's kind of a safety linebacker, but on the true safety spots, a lot of new guys. You know, we got Kamari Wilson, who's got some experience. He's played pretty well. We got Matt Sigg, a true freshman. He's going to have a great future here. Damari Williams, Jacob Bradford, they're both transfers in. Tim Roberson's a transfer. Cam Reddick is a transfer. And Andrew Proudrell's they're going to have an outstanding year. He's a veteran guy that really had a great spring. He's been a little limited in the beginning of camp, but he'll be practicing here in a day, or full go here in a couple of days. But we got some pretty good competition at the safety position, and we got guys like Jameer Latimer that can play safety. We got him at nickel, but him and Powdrell can play either one of them, safety or nickel. So we the competition is ongoing.
Same thing for corner then.
Yeah, corner. Again, a lot of new guys. Veteran coming back, played in our system. Nick Taylor, Keyshawn Robinson. They're battling with Choms John, who's a transfer, big guy. Tremarius Bomar is another guy that's got some experience in our system. Jair Rollison has flashed. He flashed some stuff today. And then Day Allen is another transfer that's shown some good stuff. And then there's a really good young class. There's guys, Makai Boone, Vincent Smith, Smodge Hill. Those guys all are young guys that have multiple years left. I think all going to be good players for us.
You like this secondary?
I think we're bigger, you know, particularly at corner. You know, our guys last year competed hard, but there were just times where we just got mossed a little bit at times with some of the big wideouts, and we were in position to make the play, just couldn't get not quite big enough maybe to do it. So we went purposely to try to get some length and some size at the corner position. And you know, you look at Choms, who's 6'3" or 6'4", Nick's 6'1". Keyshawn's almost 6 foot. Rayshawn Reynolds is another guy we brought in. I think he's going to have a good season for us. He's 6'3". Day Allen's 6'3". So there's some corners now that got some length that we haven't had before.
Does having all those new guys kind of make you nervous, or does it kind of make you like excited that you have a fresh piece of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nervous is the right thing, but a little apprehensive. You know, until you think if you do it, we try. That's the whole thing. Was you try to put them as much game situations in practice as we can, because we don't have any preseason games or scrimmage games, and so the first time they go out live against Coastal, I mean, it counts. So and there's a lot of new guys. I don't know how many what is there, 2 or 3 returning starters or something from last year. It's not a lot. So, but if you're ready to play, you know, with the intensity we try to portray in practice, then it'll translate to the game.
So you mentioned Matt Sigg as somebody who has a great future here, a part of the group. How do you judge somebody without knowing the game shape they're going to be in and how they're going to play in a game that young, and if they're ready, how much you can play them?
Yeah,
how can you judge that now?
Yeah, you just do it during practice. I mean, you know, they're going against good guys, and we try to make practice as competitive as possible. I mean, everybody says that, but do they really do that? And I think our practices are pretty competitive. We try to, I don't want to say pressure is the right word, because pressure is a privilege, but we try to put them in a situation like, see, how's he going to react here, and then the games become easy. And you know, guys. Sometimes at fresh, you worry about a freshman maybe more than anything else. But you know, a guy like Matt who's played at a high level in high school, coach's kid, smart, mature. You know, there's nothing that he can't handle in the game. It's more now just getting them used to a college system and a college, you know, different coverages and get different. You know, the speed of the game's a whole lot faster. And I see him and all those younger guys. You know, they're the ones that adapt. Have, you know, adapt the most because they're going to get some pretty good dudes on the other side too.
Is he kind of around where you hoped he would be at
Yeah,
that point? Or?
I think so. Yeah. Again, we haven't had. We had a little bit of live yesterday. Today's shorts. The shorts are hard days to evaluate, but we'll have a little scrimmage Saturday and another little scrimmage, the following week, and that'll play a big part in it. But I could see, you can see that they're slowly getting better and grasping what we want them to do.
What do you want to get out of the scrimmages, Rich?
Well, we got, again, with so many new guys, we got to figure out who's ready to win with, who's ready, and then create some situations where we put them under the gun a little bit during scrimmage and see how they respond the best we can. But like some of these guys, even though some of them are new, they've played. A lot of them have played college football and started, so it's not going to be that big a deal. I mean, I always hope our atmosphere is better than anybody's, but because they've played in college games and played on games and national TV and big crowds, a lot of them it's not going to be that big of a wow thing early in the season because they've been there, done that.
Richard Sig, do you kind of let his talents find a spot for him, or does he start with one? Matt Sig.
Matt, yeah. I mean, I think we thought from the start that our bigger need was at safety, and so he's not done anything on offense.
But as far as safety, like there's different spots. Does he fit into one better? Do you let him?
Yeah, I
move
think
around
both of them. I mean, we want both safeties, to play both the boundary and the field safety, and there's I think every one of them that we have can do both.
In general, when you're talking about evaluating players, a lot of this seems like individual evaluations. Are there sometimes guys that play better with a certain group around them, with guys that you're like, hey, individually they were?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I don't think so. It's like, is a quarterback better with this guy at running back or this guy wide receiver? We roll guys in and out so much that we don't want that to be the case. Because I hope we never have another year like last year where you got all the quarterbacks hurt and all those running backs hurt, and it was just crazy. But I think we're trying to create depth, and it's a good quality depth no matter who's out there. Quarterback doesn't matter to him who's playing center, who's playing tailback. And we roll so much in practice because of that. Because, even though we don't want to go through a season like last year, we got 8 straight games and no open dates. That's, just the way the schedule falls this year. That's a lot at this level, 8 straight with no open dates. So we better make sure we have some quality depth.
You have a plan in terms of contact against quarterbacks during the scrimmages? Will they be full on?
Yeah, I mean, they're, Scotty and Mike are kind of in a black jersey where it's just tag. But I'm debating whether to, they're both, I'm not worried about either one of those guys' toughness per se. So I'm trying to decide whether I want them to go live or not. Because when it's live, it's better for them. They want to be live and, they can outrun sacks or, make big runs or whatever. So I don't know if I'm going to let them go live at all in the scrimmage. I got to think about that. My tendency is usually not because both of them have played in college and have had success and been out there, so I don't know if I'll let them get hit. But the rest of the guys, and I don't let those quarterbacks. I mean, usually if something's, we blow a protection or something happens, the guy's coming free and the quarterback's in a live situation, I'll probably blow a quick whistle anyway because no need to get our own guys blown up. But I think more than anything else, if our quarterbacks look a little hesitant or they're holding on to the ball too long, okay, now I'm going to make it live and make them get, kind of teach them that. But I don't think that's going to be an issue with them.
So, Coach, you have a scrimmage coming up that you're talking about now. It's almost mid-August, early to mid-August right now. In this scrimmage or even anyone in the future, how much of it is just in general working on things, or do you actually have Coastal Carolina in your mind?
Yeah, a little bit of Coastal fun. When we started camp, some of our early installs was that in mind. But this is, I have to look back, but I think this is the shortest training camp that had a lot of time. But it's, just the way the calendar fell. It wasn't anything. You only allowed so many practices. And so you get more practices or start a whole lot early if you go in week 0, which I think we're going to try to do next year. So this is like, I can't remember time not even having 2 weeks of practice of camp, and that's it, and school starts. But that's the way the calendar falls this year. So there is a sense of urgency to try to get as much done when we got all ball last week and this week, and then next week when school starts, it's going to be a little bit more limited. But that got to play part into what our coaches are thinking about install in all three phases. So we're not, getting ready for Coastal Carolina 2 weeks before the game, and all of a sudden we still haven't figured out who our guys are and what they're doing, and the fundamentals aren't there and all that stuff.
Speaking of quarterbacks, is Hughley to the point you want to consistently get him game a series?
Yeah, he's like, there's no more red shirt anyway, right? But we're he's, with him and Wyatt's a little banged up, so hopefully when he gets there, but he needs some. He's a guy that will need some scrimmage time, because everything's happening a little bit faster for him. He's a really talented guy and very conscientious, and I think he's got great things ahead of him. But he's the type of guy that Mike and Scotty have played. Even Max Brown has played a lot of football, but all those other guys need some quality, intense type of scrimmage reps. So that'll be big for them. We'll do a little bit tomorrow, but it'll be mostly Saturday.
Back to your secondary, how much of an emphasis have you made it on that position group just to try to eliminate or lessen the explosive plays this season?
Yeah, we give. Some of it is you give up explosive plays because you're not getting a pass rush, and he's got all day to throw it, and the guy's got all kinds of time to get open down the field. But, I think it's really, in Coach Alley's system, he does a lot of different stuff with the secondaries guys. They got to be very conscientious of formations and splits, and their eyes have got to be in the right spot. Usually for a young guy, the eye, they have eye violations. They're looking at the wrong area for too long. It gets them in trouble. But we purposely try to get them, a lot of deep shots in practice so we could test at them. I think so far, I don't know. We've gotten a few deep balls here and there, but we haven't had a lot of explosives. But we haven't scrimmaged like full on Saturday scrimmage is going to be important because we got to – right now, the defensive coaches are on the sidelines. The offensive coaches sometimes are in the back, but we're kind of helping them from the sidelines, and all that. When we go in scrimmage, it's kind of be like coaches are going to be kind of like hands off, voice off, kind of, we'll correct some stuff, but we got to let them play and see how they handle that.
You are 1 week and 7 practices into this. You probably have a little bit of a better feel than you did on day one. Would you, in comparison to 1 weekend last year and to where you would like to be 1 weekend, how are you feeling about this so far?
Same thing, fair question. I was just trying to think about myself as because I look at our scripts from last year, this year, and how we're practicing, what we're doing each period. And so I'm also trying to think, like, where were we at? Was I happy 1 weekend? I don't think I've ever been happy in 29 years. 1 weekend, 2 weekends, 4 weeks in. So I guess, like, if I look back at my notes and like, man, I'm ticked off after week one because we haven't made more progress, that would probably be the same thing I said 29 other times, So I try not to put too much into it, but I'd like to be further along than right now. But if I looked at my notes, we're probably further along than we were in the past. In fact, I know we are, so I can't complain.
You mentioned last year about even times having to make sure the coaches were all in the right mindset, even the ones that knew you, about what's hard edge and calling out players and culture from the coaches. Where is that now? And obviously there's a couple of new additions, but is that not work you have to worry about this year you did last year?
Yeah, I think, the coaches that have been around kind of understand not just so much the culture, but just the environment, the intensity, the way we go about doing our practices and in our program. And new coaches adapt pretty quickly. The guys that have been with me for a long time are guys like Rick Trickett. Trick and I've been together a long time, so I didn't even have to worry about that. But we have a lot of so many coaches now, which is a great thing, and they're all really eager and good and are going to be great. Got great careers ahead of them, but they still, comes down to like their singular focus has to be while we're practicing that next play or that next rep or that next thing. It's got to be the most important thing in the world to them at that time. That means it's the most important thing to the world in general, but at that time, their singular focus has to be that very next rep or play or whatever we're teaching. And our coaches do a really good job of that. Our managers and trainers do, and I'm trying to get the players to do the same thing. Because there's when I go to practice, like we got some great people visiting and all that, but once the whistle starts for the first period, I mean, there could be bombs going off outside. I mean, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm like totally into it. The very next thing we're doing, and our coaches do a great job of that, and our players, I think, have done a better job of that. You know, because there's you watch a lot of practices, and there's a lot of lollygagging around. Got players on the sidelines looking at birds, or over there chatting about something on TikTok or whatever it is. And I've asked the entire program, everybody in the entire program, recruiting staff, everybody, when we practice, we have 100% engagement on everything that goes on in practice all the time.
How good is Kamari Wilson?
Kamari's going to be a really good player. I mean, he's one of those guys that's got a lot of experience, played really good football. It's been a seamless transition for him here. It feels like he's been around, forever, because he's got a great personality, and guys gravitate to him. So been really pleased how he's played since he's been here, but also, kind of, how he's fit into West Virginia football.
How about inside receivers?
What's that?
Your inside receivers, how do you feel about all that?
Inside, DJ Epps is a really good player. Again, another guy that highly productive where he was at. He's had excellent practices all during camp. Who has slot receivers? You got, help me out here. Monty Weaver. Just had a unfortunate family. Father passed away and missed a little bit of time. And a great family. He's one of the fastest guys on our team. He's back now and doing some really good stuff. KT Triplett is a junior college guy that's slowly getting better. You can see the beginning of it. He was wide-eyed. This is kind of all new to him, but he's been doing good. But DJ's the leader in that group. I think Amani's going to play a lot of football for us. We have we got a couple guys that can play in a slot, like Jaden Bray and John Nider will play both outside and inside. Cyrus Trawl can play both in the slot, inside and outside. So we've moved the wideouts around a lot more than we have in the past. And some of them, like Jaden and Cyrus and John Nider, who's an experienced guy, can handle that.
Was it a little bit easier, despite the big roster turnover for the second year in a row, to maintain kind of that culture, or that intensity and that mindset, because 20, 30 of the guys came back that played with you last year?
I'd say it's a little bit easier, but still harder than probably will be in the future. You know what I mean? And look, now we have 14, 15 seniors or something, and that, hopefully we get most of them coming back, and so it won't be nearly the same transition again. Like this year, there's still a little bit more. Like I find myself still having to do some culture things that I won't have to do or won't have to worry about as much next year or the year after that. So it's a little bit still there, but it is better than last year, what was new for everybody.
Those older guys kind of surprised you or just impressed you in general with the way they've stepped up in that regard, leading in that aspect?
Yeah, and again, I'm a little different. I'm not asking guys to be leaders every day on practice field, whatever. I want leaders in the locker room. I want leaders off the field, but I'm not worried about leaders in more practice field. That's what the coach is there for. But I do want guys that kind of show a certain type of consistent effort and intensity. If that makes sense, if that's a leader, that is a leader. That guy plays hard all the time. That guy's attentive all the time. That guy's, he's running from drill to drill. Yeah, you're seeing that on Jaden Bray. You're seeing that on Nate Gabriel. You're seeing that on guys, Nick Cray, Ben Cutter. Guys that have played a lot of football for us have been here. Those guys, when I start getting one of my moods, because we're not the intensity's not what it is. You can, it ain't those guys ever. I'm not worried about them. They're in it. So we're slowly getting there. Like I said, I think we got a lot of work to do, but how we practice is different. It is. The intensity and the edge, whatever it is, I want it to be different. That's not for everybody. That's just the way we do it. And everybody's got to buy into it.
I know they're there because they're deserving coaches, but how important is it to have Pat White and Noah Devine to help lay out that culture, because they were with you before?
Oh, it helps because they got a lot of respect. It's like the Rasheed Marshall was and Chris Herring. All those guys were great players here. So that helps, but and it hadn't been hot in practice, but even if it's a hard part of practice, whatever, then there's not really been a hard part of practice. I don't think that you're looking over and seeing if Pat or Noel or somebody or Rashid is telling them to hey, go harder. Hell, that's all our coaches' jobs. I usually take the lead in that. I enjoy. I don't I yell a little bit. I don't really enjoy it, but it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean?
If you are eventually able to add players back with the ruling stuff, it's kind of a weird position. You may feel different than you would have a week ago after watching some practice. Does that factor in it, or are there certain positions where it might be easier for someone to come in and hit the ground running? How does that work if it doesn't happen?
Boy, I don't know. I just read something a little earlier today where the NSA has filed a motion or something, so nobody, that fifth-year deal and that court case, whatever is going to be hold or held or so who knows what's going on. I think he kind of really pushed the pause button. We may have a couple guys that could have a fifth year, and we've got a plan for that, but I'm really waiting until okay, they're good to go, there's no more court cases coming up, and so we're not wasting anybody's time.
Thanks.
Okay. Yep.